YouTube comments from a video titled, Why Society Changed Forever After COVID. Part 4.
Sarab2324 wrote,
Lockdown was awful for me. I was already stuck inside a lot of the time because of my physical and mental health, and then lockdown happened. I can see why some people liked it since they were way less busy, but for me it got so much worse not being able to go out really at all. Things aren't the same. I lived with my ex-friend in 2020 for a while, and her sisters were in high school. They only went a couple times a week, and then did the rest on Zoom. TikTok was also just getting popular, and one of her sisters was obsessed with it. At that time, a lot of it was people dancing though.
A7 is the key to heaven wrote,
Oh, yes. I was a senior during lockdown. It was spring break. Boom. Everything was online. I was working at a restaurant and didn't have to work because of the lockdown. It was fun, but no, I wouldn't go back.
A7 is the key to heaven wrote,
One thing I gotta say. If someone told me you're missing out if you don't have social media, I feel the opposite. You miss out if you are just on your phone and not enjoying the real world.
At Janice Perkins 4340 wrote,
I know it affected one of my grandsons horribly. He missed out on nearly his entire senior year of high school, and there was no graduation ceremony. By that time, he seemed not to care. I think I was more upset about it than he was. Then later, he was guilted into taking the mister and a prior to a visit with us by other family members to protect us. We did not request nor did we require protection by anyone. We told him we wish he would have called to talk to us about it first. We feel so bad for him.
At Clambone 337 wrote,
751. He is so spot on. Everything all the way down to the video games we are playing, nothing feels right a lot. Of it should have never happened, and most of it was for the worse. It's all about money skins dystopia. I'm so sick of seeing Nikki slide through Warzone. I just won't play games like that.
At Aaron 9710 wrote,
I feel like people can be mean and more judgmental. Everyone is struggling, and you can't really talk about it openly because too many are extremely opinionated and too many seem so quick to judge those who are really struggling. Not sure how true this actually is, but it is how I feel.
At Countless Bathory 1485 wrote,
My expectation of people and their ability to use basic logic and reasoning, or even research for themselves, went downhill. In other words, I am less trusting of people, and it takes a lot more for me to call someone a friend. Also, wearing really showed us who the sheep and good Nazis are.
The Dull Mirror wrote,
So a few things. I tried to use the lockdown to take online classes and work on wigs. I'm a hairstylist, and save money for my own business. I was able to become self-employed when the lockdown lifted and realized I was capable of handling things on my own. I'm glad I used that time. The thing I feel that has never bounced back is how expensive everything is, and it's like no matter how many raises, the cost of housing Cala groceries is crazy.
At Realmk 1 wrote,
Ugh. As an extrovert, lockdown was miserable for me. I got laid off in February before it happened, and was in the middle of my job search that then went on for the next year and a half, and I was at home with roommates, and we went on hikes, and cooked a ton, but not having that outlet of going to work and socializing daily was really hard on me.
At Oblatusinum 6979 wrote,
Lol. I saw people with the best of times and the worst of times. One literally got to sit home, play video games, and splurge with $900 a week from the Fed. I had to live in my car, work one of two heavy labor jobs that paid super under level. Was told by the government to screw off when I applied for funds because my second job was closed by the government. They refused to accept that my pay barely let me have food, and many nights I went hungry. Got told to screw off by the near-empty homeless shelter, because I had a small car I could sleep in. Was constantly told to quit and get the free money even though you couldn't get the free money if you quit, and was never given a single penny by the pricks splurging with it. I finally got a transfer to a place I could rent, right as COVID was tech ending in that state, and still have. To listen to those that got to just relax why it wants so bad, and they actually wish it lasted longer. I don't hate COVID for COVID, but I hate the lockdowns for what it did to me, and so many others, because the media was fear-mongering and purposely inflating their numbers. The only thing that is truly worse since that time is the inflation etc. that COVID was used as an excuse for.
At Heather Scott 9550 wrote,
Benaniwi. I was caretaking for mother-in-law and my daughter, both of whom are no longer with us, and my husband's health isn't good either. You want to talk about disconnection from the world? I'm sitting still, and the world is happening.
SCIVL 901 wrote,
I'm not gonna lie. Post-COVID, I realized that a lot of my friends were insane leftists who goes. Before then, I didn't even care to notice. Now, I notice everything. I deleted my Facebook and never looked back.
Additionally, I believe that we are in a war.
A psychological war. You see the two opposing sides now ideologically.
At Ashley Hopper 2016 wrote,
Amir, I realize my comment isn't going to have anything at all with the video, but I'm desperately trying to figure out this new big beautiful bill that's going to the Senate. I know you are well versed in laws and regulations, as I've been following you for at least 2 years now. While I'm not easily swayed by fear-mongering radicals, I do have more concern than the average person as part of this bill covers Medicaid. Then I'll be your best choice. Dean Monger. The reason for my concern is that my son and I are both disabled. By disabled. Nelge iminuile seyer. They're your typical disabilities of ASD or ADHD or other common disabilities, although this would affect them too obviously. My son has a terminal illness called juvenile onset Sandhoff disease, and I'm being sent to Undiagnosed Disease Network due to showing 100% signs of adult onset Sandhoff disease and another condition called hereditary spastic paraplegia HSP from here on out, along with functional neurological disorder. I'm well versed with medical terminology, but legal terms confuse me greatly. I tried reading the bill myself, but can't fully understand it. If Medicaid gets taken away from us, his disease and my disorder HSP will get worse more quickly because of loss of therapies, medications, and an experimental drug for my son that actually is working for my son so far. Would you be willing to do an episode on this bill? Me.
At TT8388 wrote,
I enjoyed quarantine. I also gained a lot of weight too. I have noticed people don't have social skills anymore. A lot of people, including the children, are stuck on their phone and don't fellowship. I had become more of an introvert. I don't like being around people, but when I'm out and about, I speak to people and I acknowledge others with respect. I don't like.
Cardia Diamond wrote,
1759. I just finished my first 2 years of college, and it is so true that people live in their own bubble and don't interact anymore.
It took me till my final semester to make friends in class. Taking year. Turkey near. Turkey near. Turkey near. Turkey near. No one says hello. Or smiles at me I'm the hall, even when I do it to them. Only people that would talk to me are the teachers. As a social person, this sucks. Post-COVID is so cold.
As SigTom3711 wrote,
What I've noticed since COVID is the difference in conversation with others. Is people don't listen to others. Now, people will talk about what they have rather than talk about who they are. It's a lot of bragging going on. It's like an elevator pitch talking to PPL. It's like an elevator pitch talking to PPL. So annoying.
A Karanjaseking 1437 wrote,
I've started going to concerts alone. My friends/family don't have the same music interests as I have. Rather than missing out, I go alone, and so far it's been great. Since I'm only buying one ticket, I can afford a better seat than if we were purchasing multiple tickets, and I get to see the bands that make me happy, and my other half doesn't have to suffer along to keep me company.
A Hallie.com wrote,
I was a senior during COVID. Went to spring break and never came back to school. Almost didn't walk at graduation due to COVID. They told us maybe a week before we would walk that we could. As a senior, we still had to do schoolwork, just at home. No fun senior activities, no prom, nothing. I feel like I was robbed. For many other reasons as well, due to my school being literal trailers due to a flood. To this day, at 23, I still feel 17 when lockdown started.
At etc13 wrote,
During lockdown, I really doubled down on my mental and physical health. Quarantine started right before I started high school, and the date of lockdown here in CA was on my birthday. I joined my chess club and met tons of new people online during this time. I also taught myself how to crochet and craft. At this time, I found so many YouTube channels, including Amir's, that I really love. Don't get me wrong, I did miss a lot of things that normal high schoolers do. That was really difficult for me at first. By the time I turned 17 years old, I was super depressed. However, this episode of my life was when I really grew in my faith and truly met Jesus Christ. So, arguably, it was the greatest year ever. Now that I am in college, which is still mostly online, I have gone back to doing fun things and meeting new people. I have so many future plans.
At Hallogamergeral2 wrote,
Oh, and also, my husband was laid off at the doctor's office because I was more valuable than he was. COVID was hell for healthcare people. No one knew what the next day had in store. I wish I were locked down.
At Hallogamergeral2 wrote,
I worked at a doctor office during COVID years. Now, I really can't stand just going out. I work from home, thank God, 'cause I can't with people.
Cow Whisperer wrote,
I'm a farmer in a rural community. COVID didn't really affect me. I still had to go and work 10 plus hours a day. But I agree society overall is different.
At Hiran Earth 16 wrote,
I was so happy to hear the guy in the green saying what he said. I totally and completely agree and feel the same exact way about people. It's so sad that people have changed this much. Man, he said it perfectly. Thank you.
Asaram 2115 wrote,
Having a child in daycare when COVID hit changed a lot for me. Previously, I was working full-time with no plans to quit, just did the usual daycare thing and planned on public school. Totally cool with government taking care of my kid. But we kept her home from daycare during COVID while we worked remotely, and that changed everything about my parenting trajectory. Now I work part-time at home and keep my babies with me, homeschool,
homestead, etc. It opened my eyes to the perils of modern feminism and how it's not as liberating or as natural as I once thought.
The Squirrels for Us wrote,
I don't know, but I'm pretty positive the issue originated from smartphone use the past 15 years. And if COVID had happened in the early 2000s, we would have had an easier time coming back to reality and reconnecting. I'm blaming smartphones more than the internet in general or social media because 2007 to 2010 was when it got most obvious that masses of people were detaching in public, which affected the rest of us. The larger screens and full-blown internet in our pockets turned everyone into an addict. Before that, people would disappear online while at home, but they'd be forced to come back to reality once they left the house. So they'd reconnect to people/society again. Once we got iPhones, people stopped coming back. I first had this same feeling as a kid in the late 80s, after I'd played Nintendo for days on end. I'd finish the game and have to return to reality. I'd feel weird for the first few hours, like I was floating, but then I'd adjust and things would feel back to normal. That was just me being detached for a few days, while the rest of the world stayed in place. I just had to reattach myself, so it wasn't that hard. But now, everyone is detached on some level because we've been on our phones for 15 plus years. When we try to come back, we can't find anyone or anything to reattach to, and we're stuck floating in that surreal in between two realities space. COVID lockdowns definitely made that worse and more noticeable. I'm afraid nothing is going to be done about this, and we're experiencing those unknown long-term effects of virtual reality type stuff. I don't know if this is some type of mass derealization, but it 100% feels like it to me, and that's what I've personally been experiencing. The world feels off, like an alien place that's eerily familiar. Like when you dream you're in your house, but it's not really your house at the same time.
At Lisa M. K06 wrote,
I was raised to always be complimentary to anyone who is helping you in a customer service atmosphere. I have even asked to speak to their supervisor or manager so that I can let them know what an amazing asset that person is for their company. Customer service isn't an easy job. I am working on myself in having patience with a customer service representative that may not be very nice to me. So I just try my best to be patient and ask questions in order to get my problem solved. Kindness goes a very long way.
The Hotshot Singer wrote,
For me at least, I feel like life changed as a whole just before 2016 ended, specifically pre-Harambe. Maybe it was because I was in the middle of my teens and moved to a small place where I could explore on foot/bike. Hanging around in game stores, late night shenanigans W/friends at Winco, exploring the wilderness. Hell, I remember when Pokemon Go came out and people were out until 2 a.m. I've literally never felt safer with as many people screaming with excitement, with it still being summer and the night still felt comfortable in a t-shirt, and people meeting each other with their shared interest of catching imaginary monsters. Then came the election of Trump v. Hillary, Zika virus, the Syrian civil war, Brexit, North Korean nuclear missile scares, and overall terrorist disasters across the world. It felt like there was slim good news and the apprehension of the next bad event yet to come. It never got better leading into 2017, 2018, 2019. Then boom, COVID happens and the whole world was at the very least concerned about a disease that was potentially lethal. We didn't and couldn't know better and quarantined into self-isolation. Busy streets now empty, governments and media as a whole hyperventilated about coronavirus and various lockdown laws, and small businesses shutting down for lack of traffic. Bars, restaurants, community centers, etc., the very places we all got together, met new people, had a space to have fun were gone. Nothing but big name brands were left. So we huddled in, 2 years of staying at home, going to your essential job, a quick trip for food/gas, and back home. I still drive by empty lots and stores to this day. Our social aspect has been damaged, dating is impossible, or has turned horrendous. Our favorite social gathering places aren't there anymore, And the news hasn't gotten any better, and political sides have turned from mocking one another to flat out at each other's necks with daggers. It's been 5 years of this nightmare, and I still to this day do much of the same. Go to work, get food/gas, go home. Maybe it's because I've just become an adult, and my free-spirited days of a teenager is gone. Maybe it's because I've grown-tired of the news and have decided it'd be better to just be uninformed of the same ole bullshit bad news. Maybe we've all just become conditioned from lockdown into the lives we currently live in now. The future doesn't look too bright as it is. I yearn for the blossom that was the past, and now I'm just coasting life and pressing the fast-forward button on the remote for when it eventually does. I could always remain hopeful, but it just feels like wasted energy being shouted into a void of space where no sound emits. What will be the next turning point in history that irrevocably changes our lives next?
At Denise Taylor 5167 wrote,
During COVID, we were divided into two groups. The people who went along with the lockdowns and mandates, and those who didn't. We were told to hate someone who didn't agree or conform. Now we're weary of interacting with strangers because if you don't have the same ideology, you could be shunned, attacked, or end up in a confrontation because people feel entitled to act a fool about how they feel.
Keiki Wei wrote,
I live in the South, but we still have our Southern hospitality. BUT my apartment/resort, everyone is so noisy in the elevator hallway. It never used to be like this, not even in 2020. It sounds like refrigerator Perry running through the hallway SMH.
At Whitney ST0 Remay wrote,
I've always been a homebody, but quarantine has made it much worse. I'm a stay-at-home mom and only leave the house once or twice a month. My kids and I spend a lot of time outdoors and they leave with their grandparents a few times a week, but I never leave. I don't know how to change it. I have new fears and anxieties I never had before to think that didn't used to bother me. What to do?
At Renix Elizabeth wrote,
The pandemic definitely messed me up. I worked in a very physical job at a warehouse for 5 years, and when the pandemic happened, they made us wear masks and forced us to work 60-hour weeks. I eventually had a breakdown and just stopped showing up. I had a lady freak out on me in a checkout line at a store one time because I stood too close to her. When I was in the correct space, there was markings on the floor telling you where to stand. My BF ended up sticking up for me because I wasn't the type to argue at the time. I don't understand why she couldn't have just asked politely for me to step farther back if she was that uncomfortable, but her freaking out was just so uncalled for. Like she was yelling and asking for the manager, and the employees were ignoring her because I imagine they dealt with that stuff a lot during that time. I'm so thankful my BF was there. I always had social anxiety, but the pandemic made that 100x worse. It's almost like I'm always on edge waiting for someone to freak out on me again. I only recently started to overcome a lot of that. For context, I'm 29, almost 30. On another note, I've been in the metal and rock community my whole life, going to a ton of concerts. But after the pandemic, people are so much more rude. A lot of people just don't have manners anymore. Even in movie theaters. A lot more people talking, using their phonia, taking photos, and even being messy. It's awful.
At Jenna Jane X wrote,
On the topic of manners, I communicate pleasantries to every party that is helpful, including AI. It's amazing the number of good people I meet because of that. Mind your manners and be grateful, have good in them.
John Doe on 6RU wrote,
Hey, let's separate kids from other people so they can't learn facial cues or develop their immune systems. I'm sure we won't have any problems when these kids become adults.
Don Beaver 8456 wrote,
I had two boys in college when COVID hit. They both lost their jobs, and I was in mom heaven BC. They ended up living at home. We put in a pool. We cooked out on the grill a lot, did a lot of puzzles. My husband and I are both teachers, so we were working remotely. We were all together, having so much fun together. However, my daughter, who was a high school sophomore, had a really hard time. Luckily, we rallied around her and helped her through. For me, returning to school the following year was the hard part. 1/2 kids at school, 1/2 online. Masks felt like a big wall between me and my students. It was really hard to connect to the kids that year. I shed a lot of tears that year. Ever since COVID, it's harder to build relationships with my students.
@XXLegendX_YT wrote,
COVID is the 9/11 for us younger people in Gen Z. I was 15 during COVID and I lost out on a lot of things that people in past generations were able to do because of the lockdowns. I was obviously not alive for 9/11, but I definitely felt the impact of it when traveling on vacations. It didn't impact the same as someone who was alive when it happened, obviously. COVID is similar to 9/11 in the fact that both events changed the world and altered the lives of everyone alive during the time.
@CDL 8637 wrote,
Did that kid just say being a senior during COVID was fun? Senior year was the best because of things like connecting with classmates you knew you were entering the adult world with, prom, graduation, etc. Literally, senior year was magic because of the social aspect. I can only assume this is textbook denial going on here. That, or he has no idea what he missed.
Raymond Claypole 6926 wrote,
Yeah, these young kids do not remember any of them when they're growing up in their early 20s. I'm lucky to experience all that. I still remember the pandemic. One time me and my homie went to a mall. We're so used to the mall being packed like no tomorrow. We experienced a year around until the pandemic hit. We never saw this mall ever recovered after the crowds to just barely maybe 5 people every now. And then walking the balcony, shopping at the stores, it's just barely anything. I felt so foreign.
Glenda June 9140 wrote,
Definitely no faith in mainstream media and government representatives. People are so ingenious and lie with such ease. Not everyone, but it's easy to spot them. I'm older and just can't stomach a certain group of people. I love positivity, laughter, and lifting people up. Happy Memorial Day.
Purple Freak 3 wrote,
It didn't help that everything on TV and the government was telling everyone to stay home and not go, or else you would die, or make someone else sick, and they would die. I don't really go out all that much, so my life didn't really change much since I was an essential worker from working at a grocery store. I worked 5 days, 40 hours a week.
Ekanajasimone 5213 wrote,
One of the best nights I've had was going to a poetry slam alone, and it was a group of women that invited me to sit at their table. It was such a great night.
Tub9793 wrote,
1532, I strangely relate to this dude, as I've become a firm believer in the idea of being glad those days are over, but looking back fondly on the experience. 2020 was my favorite year compared to all of the other years prior to it. I was a junior at CSU back then, as I took the fall 2019 semester off and returned to my studies in January 2020. Quarantine made campus so peaceful and quiet, as most students went home, but myself and a handful of others stayed in the quarantine dorm. I stayed busy with online classes and had a lot more free time for reading, gaming, making my YT videos, and other fun things by myself. But would I ever go back and relive those days? Hell no. I'm very blessed to say this, but each year since then has been progressively better than the last.
At Violet Flame 03 wrote,
Customer service died with COVID. Completely agree with the guy that many people lost having polite manners. Not everyone, but it's very common in my area. In group discussions, there was only one approved opinion, so there was no point in hanging out with anyone anymore. There was no small talk, just the doomsday news. No one laughed anymore either. Things are a wee bit better now, but it's still not like before.
As Succubus 342 wrote,
Pre-COVID, I didn't say yes to lots of big events or parties. What lockdown did for me was made me realize that all we lost was time. It was time with friends and times with loved ones. I did lose loved ones during that time, but it was not being able to be there that hurt the most. Yo estoy a quejar mucho tiempo en cosa cerrar todos sus días. It exacerbated my depression, and that was when I realized that I needed people so much more. I was a definite introvert before. Now I am kind of both. I have been to concerts alone and truly do enjoy being around people more than before. What I also discovered was who was really my friends and who in my family really knew me.
At Revenderos wrote,
1635. Finally, someone said it. What can I convey your deal? I was a freshman, sophomore in college during the pandemic, and it was honestly 3 best 2 years of my life. I did way better academically online, and I started my TikTok, which now has 56,000 followers. Before COVID, I was seriously struggling with choosing to recover from my eating disorder, but because you had to come in back to a performance of quarantine with my mom, I decided it wasn't worth lying to her in her own home. So I used that time to get healthy, and without the pandemic, I probably would still be struggling. I am very grateful for the time off. I feel bad for those who couldn't find the joy as well, with the break from life and school and work.
Kevin Buja 8105 wrote,
As an American now living in the area of Italy that I have been visiting for 11 years 2014 to present, I think this is much more an American problem. I have not seen that much of a difference in the people here in Italy than before or after COVID. I think it's a cultural thing. For example, kids are outside actually playing. People meet and talk in the parks, pastry shops, osterias, cafes, gelaterias. Also, I can compliment a woman and not fear a lawsuit. If you smoke outside, and nobody gives a shit. I think things started to turn around 2012 to 2013 when smartphones were becoming prevalent and social media was at your fingertips. And as far as technology, Mark Twain said it best, in a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court, technology is neither good nor bad, it is what's done with it.
At Shadowband 6358 wrote,
The pandemic was a very emotional and complex time for me personally. I had a lot of fun because I was still going out and doing stuff, but at the same time I was terrified because I thought I was going to lose my loved ones to the jabs.
At God Hates Wolverine wrote,
1642. I was thrilled to be able to stay home and work from home initially. Now years removed, back to an office job as of January 2024, I've realized how negatively it impacted me. No friends, no desire to do anything. Used to have a social life, used to work out, go to the gym, or other places. Now I'm just nothing.
At Nadejicalier 6877 wrote,
I know the day would go by fast in a day, but for some reason, every year, especially during COVID and after COVID until now, time is going on turbo IDK. Maybe I am tripping, but I feel like I don't truly enjoy a whole day even on my day off. Whatever is going on time have shifted, and I don't if it have to do the things they're spraying in the air or CERN. I agree things have changed in a lot of ways, people, time, weather, even certain animals' behavior. For me, it's the time.
Pickled Witch wrote,
As someone with ADHD and autism,
I found lockdown to be a relief. No one expected anything of me. I was not required to go anywhere. Everything stopped for a while. I was lucky to do lockdown with people I was really close to, my kids and my mum, so I'm sure that has an impact on how it affected me. I found the return to normal very hard. What do you mean I have to put on real clothes, go to appointments and make formal phone calls again? Also, I kinda love social distancing when it came to being out and about. I didn't have to worry strangers would get too close or touch me unexpectedly.
At Lovely Fleur wrote,
I was 16 and I remember I was starting driver's ed and I was ready to start volunteering. And when the lockdown started, I lost all motivation and I felt like I had to start over and push myself to do things again.
At user HX2DN9KX2D wrote,
I don't think we can fault the lockdown for people doing takeout more. One could be the economy, and two, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The tipping culture, it's out of control. 20%, 30% tip for the privilege to eat at a restaurant. Miss me with that crap. Yeah. I can already hear people calling me broke and telling me to stay home. Blah blah. I've done those things and now I rarely go out because I refuse to tip that much. And also, I don't trust restaurants to have high standards. Ha ha, but that another issue. Seriously, people are going wild and are super hostile. About not wanting to talk to others? Yeah, people are just too cushy and can't handle anything. You express an opinion, and they are so scared of it. Younger generations were supposed to be kinder and nicer. Gen Z was like bragging about how they were the most accepting generation. Then the iPad kids grew up, and they don't know how to act. The kindest lasted like 2 years. Ha ha ha. Then everything turned crazy. There's nice people outside, but there's a lot of people who can't talk. The rise of autism and labels, I guess.
At Life I wrote,
During COVID, I learned an instrument. I focused on my art career. I cut off all my friends and emotionally abusive boyfriend of 8 years. I lost a lot of close family due to cancer. Same with my cats. I sat alone crying most times but ended up learning a lot about myself.
As Sir Brandon Goofmaxer wrote,
I missed the COVID shit. In 2020, I already lived alone, worked alone, and no friends. I'm not ugly, I'm not out of shape. My close neighbor wants nothing to do with me. People are just so disconnected nowadays.
Someone QX80Q wrote,
COVID happened when I was in 6th grade. Growing up Paubomesen in middle school years occurred in a half-empty school with masks on. Saying mass, son mass, son mass, 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 son mass, mass, son mass, son mass, son mass, 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 son mass. For the longest time, I felt so behind socially from everyone else. There were no stupid middle school crushes or petty girl drama for a hot minute because I just didn't really have that opportunity for a couple years. Seniors, Maggie Fernosko, Eineng. Maggie Fernosko. I also didn't even have a phone at that point. I don't have that shared experience of seeing the craziness on the news or finding solace through social media. Any other situation I completely understand. Not wanting your child to have social media so young, but I was just completely isolated and out of the loop. The last couple of years feel finally back to normal, but I will always remember facing the setback of COVID.
At home, Gammertage wrote,
A lot of people talk about how we changed, and I agree we did, but I think we should Oslo highlight the industries that did change a lot during COVID. Consumerism has skyrocketed and so many people are being taken advantage of because of it, as well as a lot of companies going under because of it. A palliates pallier and well mean Tony 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 mean. We need a shift. 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 We need more community and company, not more individualism and conglomerates.
At Imer, H82 wrote,
We had fun. We also had a son during COVID. We camped out in the yard, took long car rides just talking about random stuff and planning for the future. My wife and I started on our second child during COVID also. We had a plan. I worked during COVID remotely and that was a blast. We did Zoom calls with family and I learned how to do a ton with all of the equipment I bought for a podcast during that time.
At Herbstomp003 wrote,
Most people have zero sense of their self as the collective. They do not see their self in others. If you do not understand that you are always talking to yourself when you are talking to others, then you do not know your true self. You only know ego.
At Herbstomp003 wrote,
If we're going to be promoting independent thinking, then they don't need Jesus, they need Buddha. And Buddha, for those of you who are already having a brain bleed from hearing that Buddha is not a person, if you didn't know that, you are currently brainwashed. Now wash your dirty self.
Epoch Ninja 7 wrote,
I think COVID changed society forever for the better because it accelerated people into waking up. It made people realize that they were in some kind of simulation.
At every_party_needs_Bob wrote,
1642, I didn't mind the lockdown too much. Sometimes my daughter and I would get a little antsy, but we were both introverts, so we handled it better than some people. My husband and son are extroverts. My husband is mature enough to know better, but my teenage son, who was diagnosed ADHD and ODD since elementary school, kept running away from home because he needed to be around people his own age. We tried to help him cope by doing our taekwondo classes on Zoom, playing games, doing movie nights, etc., but he felt like a caged animal no matter what we did.
At Jimberg621 wrote,
My town of 800 in Montana never changed. We just kept on like nothing was happening. And only 2 overweight, elderly residents with existing health problems passed. The bars stayed open. No one wore masks. Some got the jab, and now they have health issues, heart problems. Most of us didn't get the jab. Now leave my town, and the cities had goofy rules.
At Imer, H82 wrote,
COVID just accelerated the underlying issues that were already present in society. That's all. Society was heading this way already. People stuck their head in the sand and didn't want to admit it. All COVID did was say, bitch, you see the problems now. And all of a sudden we acting surprised.
Aderisiofdilla wrote,
I caught COVID and ended up sleeping in a tent at Venice Beach, and it was a blast. I learned how to skateboard. I didn't have rent. I was getting unemployment. Enjoyed life. Everybody was at the beach. So I missed all the TikTok and stuff. I had a hard time getting back to normal life. It was like, no, I don't want to go back. Then came back and everything was more expensive. Everyone dresses like bums. Girls can't walk in heels. I had a hard time writing by hand. I had to almost learn how to communicate with people again verbally. Often my words were jumbled or on top of each other. During COVID, I went on a spiritual journey and lost my religion. My brother passed COVID from depression. So much has changed. And I think not everybody made it. It was really survival of the fittest.
Edwardshit wrote,
Ironically, I was locked up through the first 1 in T5 years of COVID. I got out and was better at socializing than most people. I was isolated, I promise. But I didn't have social media, and I had to talk to people that believed the opposite of me.
At D. Shannon Garrison 5115 wrote,
I think the whole insane freak-out reaction to COVID in 2020 got TDS written all over it, a continuation of the 180 they did on Trump after he came down that elevator in 2015.
At Kalminji 867 wrote,
I've always been under the mindset that life is not a race, but COVID screwed up my projected timeline by quite a bit. I could have finished college maybe a year sooner, at the very soonest, a semester. I had to get a brain surgery due to seizures I was having starting in 2018, and COVID botched that for me because it was interfering with supplies needed for testing to speed along the process of getting approved for the surgery. Due to all this, I ended up getting married later than my husband, and I had both hoped. So yeah, for me personally, COVID really screwed me over. For the world, it screwed up a lot.
At Star, Set 227 wrote,
I graduated from high school during COVID. I lost past of my senior year to it, a normal graduation to it, and my first year and a half of college to it. I can't help but to wonder how things might have ended up for me if COVID hadn't had such an impact. I'm still trying to finish my degree because I failed my first 2 semesters due to not being prepared to handle the responsibilities of online classes, as well as lockdown making me severely depressed. It's a relief that I came out stronger on the other side, but I still have my regrets.
At every_party_needs_Bob wrote,
544 I always compliment things I like, too. I literally have done this since I was a child to anyone without fear. Some people act surprised, but most just light up.
At Cindy Sims 4001 wrote,
I was raised with manners, no sir, yes sir, no ma'am/yes ma'am, and thank you. I have also always complimented strangers. It is positive and makes nice connections. Although I did not like the BS lies, I am a homebody and loved lockdown.
At Tyrion Lannister 521 wrote,
C0 vid opened my eyes to double standard BS our government puts us through. When I saw pictures of celebrities and politicians going to 5-star restaurants, award ceremonies, hair salons, etc., while the rest of us were told stay home, slow THE spread, and so on, it made me realize just how much having a lot of money influences everything. Meanwhile, my line of work included being AT work, no option for remote while worrying about being forced to take the Fauci. Mass lies, mass paranoia, mass division.
A Thriftominia wrote,
17 Latina here. I've noticed this with the Black community several times. I'll be exiting a building or getting off an elevator with a diverse group of strangers. Blacks will only say hello to the other Black people. With this being said, when I say hello to strangers, they're a little surprised lol.
A Spooky Sam 3622 wrote,
I have mixed emotions about lockdown because I'm self-employed. It really hurt my business, but I was also going through a divorce right before it started, so it was good for my healing journey. But I knew the economy was slowly getting destroyed the longer it went on, and my business has only recently caught up this past year. Another positive, though, I did meet my current boyfriend, and we had accelerated time to get to know each other, and that was really nice. But for overall humanity, it shouldn't have happened as long as it did. Couple months at most.
At Mary Berrigan 9901 wrote,
I feel that the people who believe in the whole COVID thing, their lifestyle changed. Me used to be one. I was always shy, but before COVID, I was finally opening up and being a bit more social. Then COVID happened, and it threw me back 20 steps from my progress of not being shy. Now I'm shy again, and I feel like I can't get out of it. I feel like people who didn't believe it in so much they are fine. I could be wrong. Anyways, I feel that COVID made us cold.
Kel 1408 wrote,
Thank you for the heads up about ground news. I've been looking for something like this for a while. I'm tired of knowing the agenda of an article just by reading the headline. Glad to see the younger generations interested in critically thinking for themselves.
At Res 316 wrote,
NGL, aside from the death, I miss COVID. I used to feel guilty for it, but I honestly miss the social distancing, and especially during the early days of lockdown when I could go out in the street and there would literally be no one outside, no cars driving, no one walking. I miss that peace.
A Johnny Tranis 2K wrote,
Amir, you'd be surprised. I'm from Jersey, and I'm just appalled at my 18-year-old cousin, whom I've been trying to help since COVID. These kids don't read, or being taught how to read. He has the most frustrating time problem solving worded math questions. And now we're seeing many students graduating with low-grade level reading abilities.
At Emily 4822 wrote,
All these people should have stood 10 toes down with the unvaccinated. That's why it changed. Because everybody who's a bunch of little scared babies and thought that their government loved them did the best for them. And we just find out our food is poison, the air is poison. Nobody can afford anything. But you went and lined up for the vaccine, and now our country is ruined. Many other reasons do, but that's a big one. No one can work, everyone's sick and dying.
The 22 Cookies Easyx wrote,
Several thoughts. First, I want to say, thanks for the video. I really enjoy your content. As for kids not thinking, it's developmentally age appropriate for them to be worried about what their friends think and to not really voice their opinions because they are trying to appeal to their friends. However, it is alarming that kids aren't willing to problem solve anymore. I feel that as a society, we have enabled people to no longer think of a solution. The teacher's example was that the kids didn't want to think of an answer to the question, that we no longer challenge one another, and that we no longer help develop those skills because everything is so convenient now that we don't have to. My other thought was to the last point. I guess not so much a thought, but sharing my experience. I had so much anxiety during the vid. I was constantly worried, and I felt like the world was ending because I had the same mindset as the last person. It is okay to be prepared for the things that you can prepare for, but life is too short to be that anxious about what's going on. Yes, pay attention, but don't allow it to consume you. Take care out there.
At Morphosapien wrote,
A moment of silence for the people who are no longer with us, many of whom were young and healthy with no pre-existing conditions, because of an experiment worthy of a Nuremberg hearing.
At AngieCat21 wrote,
I had a blast during quarantine. I was on unemployment, so it felt like paid summer vacation for everybody. I met the people who are now my most active friend group and my husband all in 2020.
Sikitmog wrote,
I had a great time during COVID here in my country. Sweden, we didn't have lockdowns, but all the dumb sheeple, and there are many here, were afraid to go outside. Thus, I had the roads and beaches to myself for 2 nice and warm summers. It was wonderful in many ways. Didn't get the clot shot, never wore a mask, no issues. Downside, I guess, is that I now think even LESF MSM and my countrymen. I was already on that slope towards total distrust, though. So, hey, edit. I value my alone time highly, though, being on the spectrum and having some quirky solo hobbies to entertain myself with. If you're an extrovert, it probably sucked. Probably worse still in societies that did full draconian style lockdowns too.
At Meeks4756 wrote,
Dude, WTF? We were not all experiencing the same thing during lockdown. Some of us didn't have the luxury of an easy transition to remote work. Ask anyone who worked in healthcare, anyone who worked at a grocery store, anyone who had to keep showing up to work while the rest of the world got to stay home. And then at 2316, you decided to introduce gender into the argument and say that the average man hustled and worked harder during lockdown than women, who just got pregnant and chilled out at home. You are a better critical thinker than that. Personally, I think COVID lockdown ruined us in ways that we don't even realize yet. Sure, some people individually were able to change their lives for the better, but on the whole, we lost more than we won.
At Lunaredelver2972 wrote,
Slight ramble on school during lockdowns. I was a senior in high school during lockdowns, lived in MD, about 45 to 60 minutes from DC, depending on traffic. I liked it at the time as a senior because of how much more time I had to myself, always been very introverted. But looking back, I think I was thoroughly depressed and just didn't realize it. I was already burning myself out by the time I reached junior year, and I tried to push through it by taking the most advanced classes I physically could, because that's just what I did. I was really garbage at math, still am, and in middle school, my counselor looked at my MAP-M scores, I think it was called, and said I was suited to skip grade 8 math and bumped me up to Algebra 1 high school level math. It's for 9th graders in my area. I freaked out and begged her to let me stay on grade level. And she said, look, I want you to get through 2 weeks of Algebra I. If you're still struggling, I'll move you, but for now, I needed to just try, and I ended up not being so bad. My 7th grade math teacher was downright awful to me, and my Algebra I teacher was much calmer and explained things in a way that just clicked for me. And that experience taught me to take the highest math classes available to me so that I'm forced to study and focus and grow and eventually get better, or at least more comfortable with math, which sounds nice in theory, but I was struggling to get through pre-calc in my junior year of high school and still thought it would be a splendid idea to take Physics 2 and Calc 2 in the same year as my final engineering class. I wanted to go into architecture at the time. My school was doing a STEM program of engineering classes and a handful touch on architecture and design, so that's how I ended up taking the engineering class and realizing architecture is more math than it is design. I burned out before senior year even really began, and I was struggling at every turn. I only needed to pass 2 classes to graduate art and English. I already had enough credits from all my prior classes, and I was pretty much flunking every other class and reached a point of, I don't care. I need to pass art and English, which I really enjoy and love, so that's all I'm going to bother with. Don't ask me how I passed math that year. I think the counselors told my teacher to pass me on assignments I shouldn't have passed. My parents never called on my behalf. They still think I passed high school with flying colors for some reason. I was doing a lot of creative work when I shouldn't be. I was writing and drawing a lot and really honing my craft, and I'm still proud of the work I did back then and the work I'm doing now. But my God, I was not in a good place back then. I dropped out of college about 2 years in. I was hopeful college would be better than my high school experience, but it just felt like high school, except the free trial ran out and paying the amount I had to pay was so not worth it to me. So I dipped and I have no plans to go back. I can't help but wonder if it was always like this, or if I only got the post-lockdown, watered-down experience.
At Morphosapien wrote,
Oh my God! The world is ending, and everything is done forever, and death is closing in everywhere. Hyperventilates for 30 seconds, straightens hair. Okay, everyone. Homework due on Monday. Our betters.
At Christy9149 wrote,
My husband and I own a home remodeling business. We were busier in 2020 than any other year. People really focus on their houses too. We didn't wear a mask ever, and no one cared. The time was so fake.
At Breonna Hamilton wrote,
I live in Houston, which is the #1 city for human trafficking. So unfortunately, I don't feel safe, as a young woman, going out by myself to crowded areas like bars or concerts. Especially if they're in the evening or later. I'm currently planning my move out of the country because America just isn't a safe, community-based place anymore.
As Shelley Tanner wrote,
While COVID definitely sped things up, but society was headed downhill before the virus. Look back at 2020. The political and social conditions were in turmoil. The ruling class took every advantage to take control. The left went way left. The right fell asleep.
At Mandavirgin wrote,
I hated COVID times. My son didn't socialize and I felt so isolated. I already struggle, but now I struggle more. My shopping habits changed and I feel so anxious in public. Heck, even the formula shortage a couple years back had me changed. Our politics as well changed so much it created more divide.
At Love Quest with Lisa Concepcion wrote,
I am 54, a life coach, and when in public, I still vibe like it's 1995. My phone is in my bag, I chat people up, make EYE contact, and it's obvious to spot the NPCs. This information war has claimed many souls. Great content, Amir.
As Shark Squad Calisthenics wrote,
One thing people never mention about COVID is some people actually kill their family members by not taking the virus seriously enough and expose their loved ones to it unintentionally. That's something that could mess up your mental for years to come.
as Sarah Bear D4MQ wrote,
I started improving myself near the end of lockdown. I got really depressed and realized I had let myself go. Since then, I've lost 120 pounds and cleaned up my diet. The whole experience really woke me up. So in that way, I appreciate the experience, as awful as it was.
At Love Quest with Lisa Concepcion wrote,
People under age 35 were indoor, stranger danger, kids who had organized play dates. Nabling to like a vol. Moo, mill. To your, courage, mill. Kids were socially held back. So now COVID happened, and they isolated even more. Kids born after 98 are way different from those born pre-98.
At Bot3849 wrote,
People still go to the bar and meet people. People still say please and thank you. Kids have always been weird and awkward. You guys are your problem, not society.
At Ashlyn Meredith 8224 wrote,
I'm so glad you brought this topic to light. Not enough people are talking about how big of an impact this is going to have on the future of our country and the world.
At Pink Smoke 25123 wrote,
I like to give out compliments too. People should hear about it when they got good stuff going on. Most people are very hard on themselves. A girl was wearing a mask the other day, and still so pretty lol. I told her, you are so pretty, and I'm jealous that I can tell that with you wearing a mask lol.
At Yoga Blitz 523 wrote,
COVID plus social media has made people mean and have difficulty acting right in public. My company recently returned to the office full-time. We lost all the camaraderie and basic civility. And nen. What the being nen? What knock the being nen? Fewer people say hello or try to talk with others. We've received a few emails telling us how to behave. Don't be so loud or loiter in the hallways. Don't trash the bathrooms.
At Vernikica wrote,
For me, COVID made me and my family grew really close. All you really are NL. Found psychen trait. Then psychen trach. 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 Then psychen. Because we would spend all day together. I'm happy it impacted us positively, because I know some people who had a really bad time with their family. But my little sister, I noticed, she went into puberty during COVID and she became very antisocial. They you looking argal longing sin 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 she never really got to experience it, and it's hard for her to go out into the world. I believe a lot of kids now struggle with that due to that. They never really learn to be with people while growing up, and it's kind of sad.
Achonki 143 wrote,
I'm honestly really jealous of everyone that got to work from home and truly experience COVID lockdown. I was working in Florida and I wasn't an essential worker. But my job required me to be at work. I didn't get the free time everyone else did. The only benefit I got was having a good excuse for not going to hang out with fam or friends.
And Michelle Mybel S9D wrote,
I relapsed with alcohol during lockdown and drank throughout the entire year. My children were struggling with not being able to play outside with their friends and move their bodies to exercise and socialize. Technology was an issue before, but during COVID, we were all locked to our screens, and since then, it's a lot harder to put it down and be connected to the people around us. I lost a lot of friends in the program to relapse, and people who weren't alcoholic became alcoholic during that time. We used to meet at the fellowship, but now a lot of groups have fully switched to Zoom, and it was that in-person fellowshipping that saved most addicts and alcoholics' lives. Not to mention the great divide between political parties and the stupidity of the media. Ivne the aspenity of the media. It was during that time that my opinion of the news and political views did a complete 180.
At I Am Crystal 33 wrote,
This was an awesome video, and I see it all, but a lot of the disconnecting or detaching comes from those who elevated and those who didn't. Different priorities and people acting way worse are the reasons people don't go out and be social. It's no longer safe for those people. Survival mode V's. It is what it is. Letting go of things that you have no control over.